Got a Photoshop question? Brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, it's Ask Dave.
This week's question comes from Mandy Gray, who said, is there a simple way to change the color of something in a photograph? Well, that's one of those ones where the answer is it depends a whole lot on what the color is and whether it's unique. For example, in this photograph, this young toddler's shirt is a color and it really doesn't appear anywhere else. In other words, if her shirt was not only this green color but there was green in the background, then this method I'm about to show you wouldn't work quite so well. So this particular method works very nicely if the thing you're trying to change the color of is very unique. Now I'll show you how you can do it if that's not the case. The nice thing about this method I'm about to show you first is you don't need to make a selection. So if it's a complicated area or it's something that would just be very challenging to select, this is an interesting option. You go to Hue Saturation and just pick some color. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to pick reds, doesn't really matter. And then I take this eyedropper in the adjustment layer and I just click on the green area. Now I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click in some of the darker green as well. So I'm just trying to get a range, and it doesn't have to be perfect yet because in a second I'll be able to tell very quickly. Then I just come to the hue slider, and as I move it you'll see it's changing the hue of her shirt very nicely, and it's not really affecting anything else. Now if I notice, for example, there's a couple little bits of green here I didn't quite get, then I'd hold down the Shift key and try and add those in as well just to be sure. Okay, so this allows us to again play, of course, with all the options in here, hue, saturation, lightness. So that's a nice method that works very well when you have something that would be otherwise challenging to make a selection. Now honestly, in this case, I just delete that. It would be pretty easy to take my quick selection tool and get a pretty decent selection, well, pretty quickly. So then I could just use the hue saturation adjustment layer in that case. So let's look at an example of one that would be a little more challenging. Here's a case where I want to change the background color and there's little bits of the background in amongst hair, and again it would just take a bit of effort to make a selection. So instead I just do the same thing. Go to the hue saturation, pick any one of the options, go to the eyedropper, shift click and just kind of go over the different shades and then move the hue slider, and you can see very quickly we're already getting a pretty good result and pretty accurate without having to worry about making a selection. If I zoom in a little closer you can see it's actually done a pretty nice job. Now there's the odd thing here and there, but the nice part is it does use an adjustment layer, so in a case like this I could just take my paintbrush, and if I did notice any areas, paint with 100% black just to kind of get those away. So there you go, a couple of different methods. The nice part is that depending on what you're doing, it can be fairly easy to do without having to make a selection first. If you have a quick question you'd like me to attempt to answer here on Ask Dave, you can, if you're a Twitter user, you can go to @DaveCross and send me your quick question that way, or right here on the Kelby TV website you can look for the Contact tab, fill in the contact form, and once again send me your question and I'll do my very best to answer as many of them as I can. I'm Dave Cross. See you next time.